What is up, everybody? Dr. Shadi Ireifej here with an educational video for you dog and cat owners out there regarding vomiting. We're going to talk a little bit about what causes vomiting, how to think about vomiting, of course, whether or not it's an emergency. So vomiting, of course, in dogs and cats is very common, and we like to think about it in terms of two categories. First, I'll back up. There's really four big reasons why animals vomit, just like in people. And we won't go into the details specifically of it, but there are categories like, for example, pain-related, or nausea, or some kind of chemical in the body. Very broad terms, distension of the gastrointestinal tract. And so these are broad categories that we'll use more of on an academic level to figure out, well, why physiologically, why do animals vomit? It may be easier to think about it in terms of anatomical reasons why, and that's where it brings me into two big categories that we use when you come down from the four general categories. The two big categories in terms of vomiting, as far as what causes them in dogs and cats, include either gastrointestinal reasons, or primary gastrointestinal, primary GI, or secondary gastrointestinal, or secondary GI. So in the first category, when you think about gastrointestinal tract, you think about the obvious, stomach and intestines. And those are parts of the GI tract where you digest food. So obviously, if you're going to have a problem with vomiting, one reason why you might have a problem with vomiting is because there's an issue with the gastrointestinal tract. The second category of secondary GI is, well, anything that's not gastrointestinal. So for example, brain disease, urinary bladder disease, things like that, liver disease. And so we think of it, anatomically speaking, as far as the causes of vomiting from two big categories, and these are usually anatomically related. From there, the veterinarian's job is to try and figure out, well, what are the reasons why you're vomiting? Where is the source of the problem? And they'll do that through a variety of tests, blood work, x-ray, sonogram, sometimes even CAT scan. Sometimes it requires abdominal surgery to figure it out, biopsying, things like that. So these are, of course, sound really dramatic, but they're very, very common. And the majority of pets out there require at least some kind of supportive care to get through vomiting. It's probably the most common thing that we'll see on the emergency service, and it is one of the more common things that veterinarians at Vet Triage will try and evaluate for pet owners. So now, does every single vomiting dog or cat require immediate emergency care? Not necessarily. It depends. The veterinarian is going to quiz you, which is, in technical terms, get a history from you, collect a history, and try and question you as far as, how long has the vomiting been going on for? What does the vomit look like? Has your pet gone into anything? Is there any previous history of vomiting? Do you have any previous medical issues that may be related to vomiting? Are you currently receiving any medications? Things like that. And so the veterinarian's job, either with a telehealth service like Vet Triage or in person, is going to be to decipher how serious is this vomiting. Should you go see an emergency hospital right now, or can this be taken care of at home with some monitoring and rest time, or do you have to see your veterinarian the next time they're open? There's different levels of severity, and of course, the veterinarian's job is to try and triage you, meaning figure out how much of an emergency it is for your dog or cat. Other species do vomit, of course. They can get a little bit more technical with those species, a little bit different, but in general, vomiting you should make it known to a veterinarian that your dog or cat is vomiting. Any other species as well, let them know. If there's vomiting occurring, you go to vettriage.com, and they'll be happy to talk you through all these possibilities and then what the next steps may be. Keep in mind, of course, very important disclaimer, that dogs and cats and other species, other non-human species, cannot speak to us. And certainly veterinarians in general, whether it's via telehealth services like Vet Triage or whether it's in person, we're trying to do the best we can based on the information you're supplying to us, based on what the pet looks like on visual examination or in-person physical examination, and whatever tests we need to run to try and give you the most likely diagnoses, or at least a few diagnoses that are possibly causing the signs in your pet. And then from there, treatment will ensue, or additional tests if we're not really sure yet. So that's how vomiting should be thought of in veterinary medicine. And always refer to your veterinarian for advice. Vettriage.com is the newest telehealth service. involving really innovative two-way video technology to allow for conferencing, and you and the veterinarian can spend as much time as you need to talk about your dog or cat. What are the possible reasons for the vomiting, what to do next, how worried should you be? So I hope that helps clarify what vomiting is in dogs and cats. I hope you have a more organized thought process on what it is. We know there's lots of information out there on the internet that can be actually quite scary, quite dramatic, not always the most accurate information. So consult with a veterinarian, vettriage.com, and they'll help take care of you. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.